Imagine for a moment that you're never truly alone, not even when you're completely by yourself. What if I told you that something, an invisible presence without shape, face, or voice, has been walking alongside you for a long time? Something you can't see but that senses every one of your thoughts. Something you can't hear but that feeds on the quiet energy of your deepest emotions. What if I told you there are entities that drain your energy like it's water? Within ancient esoteric traditions, there's an idea that's as old as it is unsettling. There are subtle parasitic forms that attach themselves to our energy fields and feed off our vitality. This isn't just poetic metaphor or superstition. It's a detailed cosmology built by alchemists, mystics, and occultists over centuries. The ancients called them Astral Larvae. Others, less poetically, called them demons of the invisible realm. Today, some see them as psychic projections or thought forms that take on a life of their own. But the name doesn't really matter. What matters is this: they're real. And right now, you could be feeding one without even knowing it. Maybe you felt that overwhelming fatigue no amount of sleep seems to fix. Maybe you've noticed your mood crashing for no clear reason. Maybe you've had dark thoughts that seem to come from somewhere inside you, but not really you. These are signs many people ignore. Some try to diagnose, but others, wise enough, have learned to see as something deeper, an energetic invasion. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness, because knowledge is the light that pushes away darkness. Let's dive into what these energy parasites are, how they operate, how they show up, and most importantly, how you can free yourself from their grip. We'll explore Hermetic teachings, warnings from alchemists like Paracelsus, and stories from clairvoyants who have seen this invisible ecosystem where emotions turn into hungry entities. Get ready for a journey that's deep, eye-opening, and sometimes unsettling, because sometimes reclaiming your light means facing what's been stealing it from you. Long before modern science tried explaining human behavior with brain chemicals and diagnoses, ancient sages were already warning about an invisible invasion. They didn't need to see with their eyes to sense entities working on subtle planes. They felt it, intuited it, and above all, they observed. Through symbols, stories, and myths, they left clues about energetic forms that neither are born nor die in the physical world, but can affect the human soul. In ancient Egypt, for example, the concepts of the Ka and Ba referred to different aspects of the self. The Ka was like an energy double, vulnerable to outside influence. They believed that if the Ka weakened, the body would fall ill and the spirit lose its way. This wasn't just about energy loss. It was seen as an invasion by invisible forces attaching to the human energy field. The Gnostics talked about archons, astral beings manipulating human thoughts and emotions to feed on suffering. These weren't just symbolic ideas, they were real to those with inner vision, known as gnosis. Their texts warned that without inner vigilance, the soul could become prey to these beings. Self-awareness was the only protection. In the Vedic tradition, the Upanishads and advanced yogis described asuras, beings that block spiritual growth, especially when your vital energy, prana, is out of balance. Prana flows through channels called nadis, and blockages create energy nests where parasites can thrive. That's why many traditions stress purifying the body and mind before any spiritual work. Western esotericism, from Paracelsus to Franz Bardon, documents astral larvae made up of obsessive thoughts, unresolved emotions, or addictions. These larvae gain a kind of semi-independent existence, latching onto a person's energy field, especially when fear, resentment, or sadness are present. Bardon wrote that letting destructive thoughts take hold weakens your inner shield and makes you a host for these lesser entities. even mystical Christianity and Sufism, though using different terms, mention dark spiritual influences without bodies but with clear intent. The idea of impure spirits or jinns can also be understood as a form of energy parasites. These aren't outside forces invading from the outside. They're triggers that take hold when your spiritual field fractures or your ego rules unchecked. The core message across all these teachings is clear. Humans are more than their bodies. We are multidimensional beings, and our energy body is a battlefield where every thought and feeling counts. These entities don't break in by force. They slip through cracks in our unconscious, through unhealed wounds and emotions we refuse to face or transform. That's why every tradition emphasizes waking up your awareness as a shield. It's not enough to cleanse your body. You have to keep watch over your inner world with constant, vigilant attention. The shadows that hurt us most don't come from outside, they come from within. And only when we turn on the light inside do those shadows lose their power to feed on us. Not all thieves wear masks or break down doors. Some sneak in quietly through the cracks of our energy, disguised as persistent thoughts, feelings that won't go away, and habits that slowly wear us down. Energetic parasites don't show up as scary monsters. They operate in subtle, clever ways, blending in as part of who we think we are, but they're not. To understand how these entities work, we first need to realize that the human body doesn't stop at the skin. Our biology is connected to an electromagnetic field, often called the aura or energy body in many traditions. This field acts like a protective shield, but also like an antenna, picking up, sending out, and resonating with the energies around us. When someone stays stuck in emotional states like fear, guilt, hatred, envy, or sadness, that energy field starts to crack. Think of it like a shattered crystal, letting in what it used to block. Those weak spots are exactly where energetic parasites find their chance to latch on. And they don't just settle randomly, they look for a matching vibration. In other words, if your mind is filled with thoughts of being a victim, you'll attract entities that feed on that same frequency. These entities don't possess you like in a horror movie. Instead, they slowly start influencing your choices, replaying the same mental loops over and over. The "I can't, no one gets me, I don't deserve it" cycle becomes their meal, because every thought and feeling carries energy, and that energy can be absorbed. Imagine these entities like tiny astral remoras, little creatures that cling to your energy body and slowly drain your vitality. At first, you might barely notice it, but over time you feel more tired, confused, and disconnected from yourself. Motivation fades, the will to move forward disappears, and dark thoughts take hold. And none of this happens with a clear enemy. You might never see the enemy because it hides behind your own inner voice. Energetic parasites can also show up through addictions. It doesn't matter if it's sugar, drama, toxic relationships, or screen time. Every addiction creates a closed energy loop that repeats non-stop, and that constant recycling of energy without transformation becomes a perfect breeding ground for these entities. The most unsettling part? Many of these parasites get their hosts to protect them. How? By planting the fear of letting them go. What would you do if you realized some emotions you thought were yours were actually whispers of something feeding off you? Not everyone wants to look inside because that requires courage, and breaking those ties takes a strong, wakeful will. It's no accident that ancient purification rituals, herbal baths, sacred fires, dances, chants, and deep breathing were part of the process. These weren't just for show, they were spiritual tools designed to move energy, close open portals, and evict entities hiding deep within the soul. The good news is, these parasites aren't invincible. But you can't get rid of them with outside fixes. You have to face them with awareness. That's where the real work begins. Deeply recognizing your own patterns and choosing to live with clarity instead of autopilot. Because only someone who knows their shadow can shine light on it from the core of their being. Energetic parasites don't just feed on our vitality. They act as gateways to parallel realities filled with density. In those realms, consciousness is foggy, willpower is weak, and the soul feels broken. To grasp this, we need to look beyond the physical and understand that the vibrations we send out not only attract but also tune us into certain dimensions of existence. Every strong, ongoing emotion, if left unresolved, becomes a key that opens doors. Hatred, for example, doesn't just pollute your energy body. It shifts your frequency toward worlds where conflict, resentment, and pain are everyday reality. When a person's vibration stays locked in those lower frequencies, they become vulnerable to outside influences, not visible to the naked eye, but clear to the soul. Ancient sages didn't see these influences as myths or metaphors. They knew them to be as real as the sun or the earth. Across cultures like the Toltec, Egyptian, and Hindu, there's recognition of entities roaming human energy fields, waiting for a crack, a void, or emotional neglect to exploit. These beings are described as hungry, wandering, or clingy. They don't have a fixed form but have a constant craving for vibrational nourishment. Here's a disturbing detail. These parasites can latch onto our emotional memories. When someone goes through trauma, abandonment, abuse, loss, humiliation, and doesn't heal it, an echo remains, an unresolved frequency that can anchor these beings. Over time, that emotion doesn't just stick around, it gets artificially amplified. And the person, without realizing it, keeps reliving the same story of pain, rejection, or lack again and again. That loop is partly fueled by these invisible presences, but there's something deeper here, unconscious consent. It's not enough to simply experience an energetic attack for parasitism to happen. The real permission comes from us, when we keep certain mental habits and hold on to unresolved emotional wounds. Just like a lock is useless without a key, a parasite can't attach itself without a frequency inviting it. At this point, it's worth asking ourselves, what inner alliances are we holding on to? What thoughts do we quietly feed every day? What feelings do we protect as if they're part of who we are, when really they're just open wounds? The answers don't just reveal our current energy state, they show the invisible ties that bind us. Some people, when starting deep healing or meditation, feel strange resistance, body sensations, thoughts that don't seem theirs, even physical interruptions when trying to connect inward. These aren't always just mental blocks. Sometimes these entities try to avoid being pushed out, because they know that when we raise our frequency, breathe deeply, and choose forgiveness and gratitude, we weaken their hold, and they know it well. That's why many ancient rituals focused not only on cutting ties with people or memories, but also with entities that had been lodged in the energy body for years, even generations, because parasitism can be passed down, especially when there's unresolved karma or family patterns stuck in cycles of pain. The path to freedom starts with awareness. By recognizing and naming these dynamics, we begin reclaiming the power we once gave away. Then the alchemical shift happens. We go from being prey to becoming guardians of our own energy. It's like turning on the light in a forgotten room. Parasites have no choice but to vanish in the glow of awakened consciousness. Living without being drained by energetic parasites isn't a luxury. It's essential for any soul aiming to grow in awareness and authenticity. But this protection doesn't come from talismans or secret knowledge outside of you. It comes from your presence, your intention, and your daily spiritual practice. Next, we'll share powerful practices you can add to your routine to shield your energy and clear your field of harmful influences. First, the power of conscious silence. One of the biggest mistakes today is constant noise. We surround ourselves with information, distractions, and meaningless chatter. Yet silence is an ancient healing tool. Spend 10 minutes every day alone in total silence. No music, no guided meditations, no expectations. This lets your energy field reset naturally. In that silence, your soul finds its voice, and parasites lose power because they can't manipulate a space without distractions. Second, deep breathing and connecting with your belly. Shallow breathing shows disconnection. Energetic parasites thrive when you're distracted, rushed, or disconnected from your body. Breathe deeply, filling your abdomen with air. Do this several times daily. Place one hand on your navel, the other on your heart, and feel the connection between these two centers. This simple act reconnects you with your vital energy and cuts the cords that drain you. Third, examine your emotional connections. Some people act like energy drains, not necessarily out of ill will, but because they themselves are infected. Think about who leaves you drained after talking with them. What situations keep repeating without resolution? Cutting or transforming these ties isn't selfish, it's wisdom. If you can't physically distance yourself, protect yourself energetically through daily visualizations, where you wrap yourself in light and send back to others their own energy without carrying what's not yours. Fourth, cleansing baths with natural elements. Water is a natural purifier. Take a bath at least once a week with sea salt, rosemary, or lavender. Imagine all stagnant energy releasing from your body and flowing down the drain. This simple ritual comes from ancient purification practices and strengthens your subtle energy field. Fifth, watch your inner dialogue. Your mind can be your biggest parasite if you don't pay attention. Every self-critical thought, every harsh judgment, every unresolved guilt feeds entities vibrating in distortion. A daily mindfulness practice, observing your thoughts without getting caught up in them, is crucial. It's not about suppressing thoughts, but seeing them clearly without reacting. This helps dissolve mental patterns that create cracks where darkness can slip in. Sixth, energetic and vibrational nourishment. Remember, you're not just eating for your body, you're fueling your entire energy field. Dead, processed foods loaded with chemicals don't just hurt your physical health, they also weaken your energetic defenses. Choose fresh, living foods that have been nourished by the sun and earth. Bless every meal. That simple act of awareness turns the ordinary into something sacred, and no dark energy can settle where there's constant light. Protecting yourself isn't about living in fear, it's about living in power. And power grows day by day, breath by breath, thought by thought. Let every action be a pact with your soul, a quiet declaration that says, "Here, I'm in charge." This energy is sacred and no one can take it without your permission. Imagine your energy field as an ancient castle built over centuries of experiences, memories, thoughts, and emotions. At its heart lives the most sacred part of you, your essence, your divine spark, the light that never goes out. But that castle isn't impenetrable. Doors and windows open by neglect, fear, or ignorance let invisible forces in. Parasitic energies that don't need chains to trap you, only your unawareness. We've walked step by step through discovering these subtle forces, how they operate, where they hide, and how they feed. Now we arrive at the most important part of this journey, realizing you have the power to shut those doors. You don't have to be a scholar or live in a mountain retreat. What it takes is presence, clarity, and will. 3 keys anyone can reclaim when they choose to come back to the center of their energy. true spiritual power isn't loud. It's steady. It's found in silence, in alignment, in small but meaningful choices. Every thought you refuse to feed, every emotion you choose to transform, every relationship you clear up, every meal you bless, every night when before bed you set the intention that only light may stay here. Protecting yourself from energetic parasites isn't paranoia, it's spiritual hygiene. Just like you wash your body, you need to learn to cleanse your aura, clear your mind, and sweep away energies that don't belong to you. Not because the world is dangerous, but because your energy is precious, and everything valuable deserves care and respect. This message isn't here to scare you. It's here to awaken your sense of responsibility. Where there's awareness, parasites can't survive. Where there's light, darkness fades. Where there's truth, manipulation breaks down. You've seen the invisible. You've realized not everything you feel comes from you. You've opened your eyes to the energetic realities around us, and that alone is a form of freedom. Now, the next step is yours. Will you choose to protect yourself? Will you honor your energy as the most sacred thing you have? Will you live as a conscious guardian of your inner temple? If this message speaks to you and offers helpful tools, I invite you to share it, like, subscribe, and hit the bell to get more insights that transform from the inside out. But above all, take a moment now. Close your eyes and ask yourself, who or what is living inside me that isn't really me? Awakening isn't a one-time event, it's an ongoing practice, a daily act of love for your soul. You're not weak and you're not at the mercy of subtle forces. You are the central sun of your energy field, and the time has come for you to shine, uninterrupted.